And now we're going to Brazil.
Let's go.
Okay, Brazil. Is it pronounced Manuel? Is that your name?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're glad to have you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How may we help you?
All right. I have been following you guys, your work, for about 3 months, and it really helped me a lot.
Good.
My wife is with me. We are together for about 15 years, and we have 2 kids, boys, 4 and 2 years. Last May, she got involved in her first emotional affair, and that was very tough to her, and she asked for divorce immediately. I tried to tell her that it's a human thing that can happen. I mean, sure, she did a mistake to allow that person to enter in her life. However, it already happened to me 7 years ago. So I find myself in a position that I could help her to pass through the grief, pass through the blame, pass through the passion, and really focus on love. So I spent the last 5 months with my family, trying to work with the pies, trying to work with the family, helping with the house, and talking a lot. And for rejecting me, she started to allow me to interact with her, and we dated several times. We reconnected for 2 weeks in a row, and later disconnected. She continues to think about her emotional affair, which is not in contact. I mean, the person didn't allow her to continue the emotional affair. The person is also married, and dismissed her, right? So now they are moving out in 3 weeks. I did everything that I could, and somehow she says that we are going to be in contact forever, mainly due to the kids. So we have the kids, we have a family together.
So do you think she's still got a hope within her mind that somehow she's going to get back together with this other guy? Do you think she thinks that's going to happen at some point?
Yes.
Okay.
So she asked me for few months to her feelings for me or for that other person.
Okay.
To really show up. And yes, she really thinks that person will reach her.
Okay.
So she worked on pies without knowing anything about pies. So she became more attracted. She became everything, but she attracted me instead of the emotional affair.
Okay, so let me tell you what I'm hearing then. What I'm hearing you say is that he has cut off contact with her because he wants to stay in his marriage. Did I hear you say that? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but somehow she's holding out hope that is somehow, some way, she's so focused on him. Now, understand that this kind of relationship, this what we use a word for a thing like this, we call it limerence. That limerence typically ends in one of 3 ways. One way is that the people actually get together, and once they get together, limerence begins to fade. But what I'm hearing you say is that's not going to happen here. A second way that limerence ends is that one of them stops reciprocating, that one of them stops giving the emotional feedback to the other, which is what you're describing here. And it's not unusual that when one of them pulls away, like he did, like I'm going to work on my marriage, I'm not going to contact you anymore. It's not unusual that when that person pulls away, that the other person actually intensifies his or her emotion. It actually gets stronger, it gets increased dramatically. And it's because of the fact that now they had this sense of loss, like you're going to get away. And the fear that comes with that actually intensifies the emotions and make them even stronger and bigger. And so even when that's a false hope, like, okay, I'm staying with my wife, I'm not going to be with you, and her having a false hope that somehow they're going to work that out, that strong emotion continues for a while, but it won't continue forever. It would only continue for a long period of time if a person is mentally unstable. Now, I'm going to assume that your wife is not mentally unstable, which means that even though it's intensified and gotten stronger now to the point like a couple of weeks with you and then no, wait a minute, I'm in love with him, I'm going to be with him, we're going to move away from you, maybe we'll come out to you someday if this doesn't work out, but I'm really going to chase him. All of that occurs because of the fact that he's pulled away and she's intensified. But at some point, that's going to peak. And when that peaks, it's going to start then eroding. And she's going to go through a grief process. I think I heard you mention the word grief already. She's going to go through a grief process. And so while I'm sure it's scary right now that she wants to move out, and it's like this looks like it's all headed in the wrong direction, you actually can have some hope in this if indeed that other guy continues not to want to be part of it. If he holds true to his marriage, if he doesn't come back with some kind of reciprocity back to your wife, if he doesn't somehow feed that emotion in her, if he really excludes her, this is going to end. Now, the thing that's really important, and Kimberly, we talk about this all the time, is that when it ends, that does not necessarily mean that the other person comes right back because of the fact that they do all kinds of things like vilifying, rewriting history, etc. And so what we recommend to you, Manuel, is that don't panic that she's moving out. Don't try to control or cling. You say you've done everything you can. Good. Keep doing that. Because if you practice the pies, if you practice the being the safe place, etc., when this other thing finally crashes and burns, which it's going to, it will do that if he does not respond to her. At some point it's going to end. Then you, by doing the pies and doing the safe place, etc., continue to become more attractive. Not so much immediately today, but with time. So that if she eventually accepts the fact that's not going to happen, when she finally crashes, you want to be the best alternative. That she looks around at you and goes, what was I thinking? How could I leave this man? He's so good, he's so loving, he's so kind. Now, am I making that make any sense to you, Kimberly? I'll ask that first.
Yes, it does make sense.
Okay, and so can you clarify it a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of times people say, well, if my spouse would just end the affair, then we'll be able to fix the marriage, they'll come back and we'll work this through. The reason that doesn't always work is because even if the affair ends, depending on the way the marriage was, the way that the spouse who's standing, as we so to say, the spouse who didn't have the affair, they might not look like the better option. Being alone might feel to the spouse who had the affair like a better option than going back to the relationship and the marriage that they were in. So what we want to encourage you to do is be the better option. The word alternative can sometimes get people angry because they're saying, well, no, I'm not the alternative, I'm the first.
Right.
Well, just take that word out. We just want you to be the best option for your spouse. That we want them to look at you and say, I would rather be with them than be alone, as opposed to I would rather be alone than to go back to what that marriage was, what that relationship was, what my spouse is like. And when you work on the pies and you work on the smart contact and you work on all these things, even when your wife is either involved with someone else or hoping to be involved with someone else, you're giving yourself the best chance of that happening, being the better option.
Right. So I'm impressed with what you've done so far, young man. I understand the fear that, well, they're going to move out in 2 or 3 weeks. What am I going to do? But based on what you've said, and that's all we can go on is how you described it, based on what you said, you've got a good chance that this is going to work out with a little time. Now, obviously, I can't guarantee that. But based on what I'm hearing, I think you've got a shot at this. If that guy does not feed back to her, if he continues to stay away and you continue to do the things that you're learning, then at some point, I'm predicting that at some point she's going to come to her senses and come back to you and want to make a good marriage. Now, I wish I could guarantee it. I can't, but I'm certainly predicting it. Okay, is what we're saying making any sense to you at all, Manuel?
That's one thing that I want to add that is scaring me about.
Okay, all right.
That somehow she already declared that she wants to try new partners. because like almost like a rebound
Yeah.
with new possible partners, and that is just, she just spoke with me in such a calm way, such a clear way that I said, wow, okay.
Yeah, that's sure scary to hear. I understand that. By the way, Manuel, that's not unusual. That when a person is in limerence, I'm going to assume that she is in this thing we call limerence. If they can't have the limerent object, what we call the LO, if that's not going to happen, then often before turning back to the spouse, they actually will go a third direction. They'll try this other person. Almost always, I mean, I'm talking about nearly every single time, that doesn't work. It may be something that they actually get involved in for a little while. It may be just something they don't get involved in at all. They think about it, but it doesn't happen. If it does happen, it may last a few weeks. It could even last a couple of months. But because of the fact that this third person, this new partner, is not that limerent object, and eventually they accept the fact that this person's not that limerent object, they fade from that. So while that's scary, I understand that's scary, and it may mean that she'll go an extra step going further away from you. And I realize that if that happens, you have a choice. I mean, you could at any point could say you want to end this. But I'm predicting that if she does that, that's not going to work very well for her. And it's still going to come back to where it was before. My prediction is at some point, if you keep doing the things you're doing now, that you continue to have a good chance that she's going to come back to you. And yeah, I know it's going to hurt if she goes to the other person, and you may decide that's it. I don't want anything else to do with it. I'm going to get rid of it, get rid of her. If she does that, you have all those choices. But don't panic that she's thinking about a new partner. It's kind of par for the course. It happens a lot.
Is it because they're chasing a feeling?
Basically, yeah, they're chasing a feeling. It's almost like, it's not the same thing, but it's almost like, we know that people, when they, if they do crack, the first crack result is so high that then they wind up chasing that high.
Right.
And they never, ever get it again. And so, basically she'll be chasing that high that came with limerence, but it's not going to work.
Right.
It's not going to fulfill her. Now, is it possible a person could just keep chasing? Yes, that's a possibility. But most of the time, they try that, it doesn't work, and then look around and go, what have I done in my life? And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen with Manuel and with her. I really hope that happens for them. I do.
Absolutely.